And we're back. Tersia and I have had a really horrendous period, several months of legal shenanigans. It's been horrible, and I'm still going through it, and I know she is too. I'm not sure how much we want to share with you tonight. You probably don't want to be depressed, so we'll put that aside, and I'll introduce her. Tersia, welcome back. How the devil are you?
Well, I can only say I've been spared so far, and it's so nice to be back. I didn't realize how much I missed these sessions.
I
Yeah,
know it's a bit of
yeah,
sort of normality, isn't it? So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. After all, I've been spending so much time pounding the keyboards, refuting statements that are untrue, making my own statements of truth, and it's just been endless. I've had ten court cases brought against me. One of them was for molestation. This, yeah, I know.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm laughing because I know you.
yes, I know. Yes,
And
yeah,
for viewers, I can just say I spent 2 nights with John and his girls in their house with my son. Was in 2022. And so it's not that we just know one another via the internet. I've actually spent time with John in person, living in their house for 2.5 days, and one
yeah.
gets to know people. So
Yes,
really,
that's
it's
right.
laughable. That is absolutely laughable.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, yes. We had a lovely time back in 2022, but
Yes, it
and you
was
know the
great.
house, don't you? You know the house.
Yep, I do. I do.
It's a it's a great family house, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
little swimming pool and stuff like that. And uh, I'm threatened with eviction. She wants it.
The
It's
good Christian ex-wife.
yeah, yeah. You're not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
John, just before I had the perfect segue to introduce our guest,
yeah.
because my legal woes were,
Mm,
well, the criminal case was, we were awarded, so we won basically.
mm.
We were awarded costs, but now to get the money out of the guy, that's
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
job. And
Winning is one thing.
winning is one,
Receiving
but
the receiving the money is another
yeah,
thing.
but
Mm.
there's a civil case coming up, and our guest tonight might is from a country now, and I've completely forgotten what the segue was. It was actually brilliant. What happened to me? But our guest is from a country that is also very familiar with drawn out legal battles and law
Yeah. Mm.
and things like that. He's in the United States, so
Yes, that's
let's
right. Yeah.
introduce Richard. I just saw the name
Yeah.
4 seconds ago.
Shall
Richard,
I bring him on? Then you can say hello.
please do.
Yeah. Richard, how the devil are you?
I'm quite fine. The devil has not been bothering me at all.
Good.
Hello, John. Hello, Tersia.
Hello, Richard. Pleased to meet you. So I'm always curious, whereabouts in that massive country of the US are you situated?
I'm in Connecticut, the East Coast,
Okay.
about 60 miles east of New York City, right on the coast.
Okay.
All
And and
right.
and
So you're
New
fine.
Haven is the town straight south of us. Yale.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Right. Yes. So you're
ah,
not far away from Norwich, then, as you call it.
Yes, Norwich is in the state. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
may
So
may I ask, Richard? I know that our show is not political, John, but I was thinking about this afternoon, and I was thinking that these days, especially in the United States, it's almost impossible to talk about the topic that mostly interests us, which is religion and faith and belief, without connecting it to politics. Did you attend the No Kings rally in your area, Richard?
I knew about them, but my partner and I didn't decided not to attend. We were there in
Okay,
spirit.
mm,
okay.
mm.
Um, it's interesting. I follow Heather Cox Richardson, the historian. I don't know if you're familiar with her, and she expressed the sentiment that many people, if the 7 million attended, but there's probably 7 million who were there in the spirit.
Probably more than that.
Mm, mm,
Probably,
yeah.
but forgive me that question. I just had to ask because I haven't had the opportunity to speak to an American on the grounds. I follow the news, but it's always one of the nicest things about this show is to get to know people who are actually on the ground somewhere that I'm not, which is
Yes.
lovely. So please tell us about the ground that you are on.
Well, before that, can I do the intro? Because now that we've all
Sorry,
met
John.
each other, no, don't worry. No, it can happen anytime. But now that we've all met each other and, said our hails, here's the start of the show. Yeah, that was painless, wasn't it?
I'd forgotten. It's been too long since we've done this.
I know.
I've forgotten
Well,
the protocols.
so had I. The software has changed while I've not been using it, and I've had to relearn it. So expect mistakes.
So, Richard, tell us and the viewers about the ground that you are on, literally and figuratively. That's why you're here. We want to get to know you and understand, or get to know you and hear the who, what, where, and why of Richard Paul Hall.
Okay. I'm in the U.S., Connecticut, which is the East Coast, about 60 miles east of New York City. I'm 69, retired computer programmer. I went to college in upstate New York, and I was raised Roman Catholic, but pretty much from the beginning, the pieces did not make sense.
Uh-huh.
So is the East Coast more Catholic than the West Coast and the more interior? That's how little I don't really know. How many? I mean, Roman Catholicism is not the main religion in the US. It's more Protestant and evangelical. Am I right?
Well, Protestant evangelical is made up of a galaxy of independent little collections of ideas of just how you are Protestant, where Roman Catholicism is larger than most of the. If you actually go to the specific Protestant denomination, okay, but together all the Protestant people say, well, they're not like the Roman Catholics, so it's less cohesive, but a sort of a nebula of people, of similar. But if you go into details, there's a lot of mission where the Roman Catholics, it's in a book. You can accept it.
It's nicely set out, very well organized and ordered, and it's very formal and it's actually. I spoke to somebody yesterday who mentioned that he grew up evangelical, and he said he visited the local Roman Catholic Church for the first time not too long ago. And he says he actually found it beautiful. He found the ritual and so coming from an evangelical Pentecostal type of environment, he says he found the structure and the order and the music. He says he particularly loved the music and the mass in the Roman Catholic Church. Was there one particular piece that didn't fit for you? Because you said from a young age there were pieces that didn't fit. Was there one piece that stood out above others, perhaps?
Well, it was actually the first piece that didn't make sense. my father was a machinist, became an engineer for a jet engine company, and I'm the firstborn. So I got a lot of very mechanically developed toys,
Mhm.
little work tables with screws and bolts that you could do things with. Uh, where my mom got me the standard books you would get your firstborn kid. Uh, my dad would, a boy's first book of stars,
Oh,
the
Ah,
dinosaurs, okay, and you would, uh, well, my mom very early on was tired of hearing my dad's problems of what was happening on the shop floor where the machinists were making parts. And
hmm,
so he would talk to me about these issues, which I didn't understand. So he had to explain the mechanisms and the machines and what they did. I mean, at an age specific level. Um, and working for jet engine companies, there's all this material. So I had, in effect, grown up picture books of jet engines. You know,
yeah.
going,
Mm.
so it's well, I mean, well, any boy who was 4 or 5, if dad showed up with a jet engine book, I've seen. Oh, this is how they work. You know. Well, but they're just big fans. Yes, they're big fans. Yeah. And so with uh, the science books, okay, and my dad explaining things, and my mom too, to some degree, the things that were very, why do you do that? Oh, this ingredient does this with the cake or whatever.
Oh, mm.
Uh, and being in Connecticut, I had been to dinosaur museums, okay, well, one in New Haven, one in New York City. Um, and so I had a very 5-year-old level of science technology.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, being Roman Catholic, during the school year, uh, they would sort us out by grade. And in the public school, we would meet after school for half an hour, 45 minutes for catechism.
Uh-huh.
And okay, and there was this carpool thing with the moms who'd pick up kids and bring them around. Uh, and very early in second grade, uh, First Communion is coming up. Details don't matter, but it's an important ceremony.
Mm.
Uh, they're showing us all the bells and whistles. And one afternoon, one of the nuns, who was my instructor, goes through this very long, detailed explanation of the Garden of Eden, and
Uh-huh. Mm.
a light taste of creation. Yes, this was second grade, so this would have been uh, the beginning of winter and spring of '61, but it was memorable.
Mhm.
And she starts telling me this story, and it doesn't make sense. Uh, the creation part, that's not the way my kids' science books about stars and planets worked.
Uh,
And the animals showed up, and nothing about the dinosaurs, let alone not
yes.
that that I knew the magnitude of what a million was, but a certainly very large number uh, of all the animals that were extinct, which were including, of course, any 5-year-old's best friends, the dinosaurs,
Yes. Yes.
large, fascinating, over there and dead. So and she goes and then all the animals come in pairs, and then just a guy, and well, I mean, there's a guy, he's got to have a wife, you know.
Yes.
And God says, "Oh, gee, a wife. Well, any little kid. Well, you got a dad lion, you got a mom lion, so you have baby lions.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Uh, and and so no history, no extinctions.
Yeah.
Uh, everything just pops into place,
Yeah.
and it just didn't fit with everything else. And I didn't have the word for it that came later. No evidence. It's
Ah.
just this is the way it is. Okay. And and the class rolls along. There's not a lot of question and answer. And I went home, uh, after one of these and asked my mom certain questions to get details because, of course, my parents are Roman Catholic. And she looks at me with that look where you can get all the subtext in there. You can't ask a nun questions like that. Okay. Okay. And again, yes, this is, I mean, it's my memories, but it's this is something that came up with me all the time growing up. And so, okay, I can't, I mean, the only other person, it may be once a year, one of the priests will show up, and
Oh.
he's even higher on the pecking order. Uh, we can't ask him. And so you're just not supposed to question this. And I could ask my dad and my mom questions about scientific topics, and if they didn't know, they'd come up with an answer somehow. We had an encyclopedia, or my dad would ask one of the guys at work, or she'd ask me, do you have a kid's book on rocket ships? And all of this, which is all there and defined, but no evidence. It's just the story. You have to take it.
Yeah.
And you get more into details, and Jesus, what I've heard about, and like he's doing this and that, and he's preaching, okay, and then the miracles happen, and like it was very clearly a story that had been worked on, and it all was together, but nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
And all the way up through high school, and the more it went, and I was a good kid, I was a good student, so I would learn the material. We would get, especially in the later years, you get a quiz at the beginning of class about last week's stuff. You'd get a little pamphlet, they cover it, you read it. The quiz that you're going to take in class was in the back of the pamphlets, so you could study it, like guarantee yourself an A just by like doing the minimum amount of work. And especially the guys in my class didn't do the work and didn't get A's.
Were you confirmed? Were you confirmed, Richard?
Oh yes. Confirmation was what, 5th, 6th grade? Yes, I was confirmed.
Okay.
I have no videotape of when I was baptized back in '54, but we have the paperwork. But yes, I was confirmed, and
Confirmed?
that would have been 5th, 6th grade, so 11, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
That's young.
Well, there's they I got to go back into the deep files of this, but the explanation is, well, First Communion, where you get the host and that, and where you can understand the beginnings of the whole thing. By 10, 12, I mean, you're mature enough to buy into the whole thing. You're not a little kid who just have to say things, but you're in the.
You've reached the age of accountability.
Yeah. Oh, certainly accountability, and also certainly been a bystander for long enough to know how it works.
Are you familiar? Sorry, Richard. Are you familiar with Julia Sweeney's one woman play, "Letting Go of God"?
No.
I can recommend it, but she tells the story of how she was the 5th or the 4th child in the family, and they were all very closely spaced. And then the day before her 10th birthday, her mother came up to her and said, okay, so you've now reached the age of accountability, so 10 is a very special birthday. And then her mom said, but I have a confession to make. So she'd actually, the day before, she told her brother that they can do some naughty things still, because tomorrow's her 10th birthday, and then she's reached the age of accountability, and then she can't be naughty anymore because then she'll go to hell. So today I'm still all right. So they were doing something naughty. And then on the day of her birthday, her mother came up to her and said, so you're now accountable, but I have a confession. And the mother confessed that Julia apparently, so she was many children, one mother, no help in the house. And she was a very precocious young girl. And the school year starts, when is it, September that the school year starts?
In the States,
yes. And her birthday was around September. but it was only she would have only turned the right age for school about 3 weeks into the school year. So her mother lied about her birth date so that she could send her to school with so she could just get just get this
Yes.
out of just get her to school. And on her 10th birthday, the mother confessed to her, "Listen, your birthday is actually only 3 weeks later." And then,
but I wanted to get rid of you.
Yes, but then Julia Sweeney says, "So I could have been naughty for 3 more weeks without having been accountable. I've been so good for 3. I could have been a kid for 3 weeks longer." So your story reminds me of that. I can really recommend to our viewers as well. It's old if you haven't seen it. Julia Sweeney, one-woman show, Letting Go of God. Anybody who grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, I think will. It's very funny, very witty. But when was the last time you attended a service, Richard?
Attending a service as a service. Well, the first 2 weeks of college, I went to Mass. So I showed up on campus. My folks brought me there on Saturday. And so that Sunday, and the church, the covering all religions church was just 2 blocks from me, and so I went. I looked it up and figured it out, and I went the next week.
He's had a bath. He's all wet.
Well,
Richard, please say the word you want to say. It's ecumenical. I love that word because it's so unifying. Although none of the churches do. Is that's what it's?
Well, it was
not interdenominational. It's all the churches, all the Christians.
It was. We called it its official name was the CNCC, Chapel and Cultural Center. Okay.
Oh,
okay. So, and it was a vaguely sort of religious blank interior, and they would just dress it for whatever service it was. So the Protestants met there, the Catholics met there. Saturday you had Jewish services, and who knows what else you could get in there. They had all the stuff there. It was also, but since it was said and done, it was a performance space. So the cultural center is, and so a little singing group or this or that. So it was always in use. It's just that certain things happened on Saturday and Sunday mornings. They would dress it and do that. And so there were religious staff you could get on the phone, which were assigned to, but there's no priest house or anything rectory associated with it. So it was effectively a branch of where the regular Catholic Church was. And so that second Sunday, I showed up early, went to confession because I had talked to an adult. There was also the whole week of college, and it was just boiling into me. Well, I mean, it was less confession and just a core dump. I was a computer programmer, so I'll technical terms show up. In fact, Mass started half an hour late because I had been in there just unloading on him. And he's just there, sort of avuncular, and never again, because I did it because I was a good Christian boy, Catholic boy. I did that, but the next Sunday, well, why? What am I getting out of this?
Yes.
None of what they're saying can possibly be true.
No.
And I don't even have any evidence to debunk, so there's no possible discussion.
Yes.
But when I was home with my folks, they would go to Mass and I'd go with them. And I think it was either my junior or senior year, I wake up one Sunday morning and it's like the house is empty and it's like 11 o'clock. And I go look around and they're gone. And I come home. And my mom says, well, you were sleeping. And so we went to church without you. And so it was, if I was awake, I'd go. And if not, well, let Richard sleep.
Yeah.
And now, No, you're up. It's your show.
John, if you don't want to ask, so before you mentioned confession, I made a note here because that's something that I want to ask you about.
Yes, what did you confess?
Did you go regularly? And I want to ask you, do you think there's any merit in it? Because I wonder about that. Do you think it could be a cathartic experience?
Yes.
How did you find it, and how often did you go? I mean, perhaps there's some merit to that if you take away the forgiveness of sin, because I don't believe in sin. But I can imagine it must be nice to have somebody to do it. What did you call it?
A core dump. A core dump. You take all of the memory in the computer and dump it on paper.
Would you talk to? I'd
Sure.
like to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, early on, second, third, fourth grade, it's something that you do. You got to get used to it. Okay. And well, and sin is all encompassing. The obvious sin when you're second, third, fourth, fifth grade, well, you're not stealing cars, robbing banks, murdering people, starting insurrections. And so it's, not remembering to brush my teeth before I go to bed, and not not listening to
fibbing.
No, that's polite. No, straight out lies. Okay. I mean that well, there were certain things that would make my father very angry. And even if you were blameless, you tell him and he would get angry. To prevent him from getting angry, I would lie, which when he caught out, it would make it worse,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was this balancing act of and there's just some things you perhaps can't tell your folks, or the guys in my neighborhood when I was growing up knew I was pretty straight-laced. I was no saint, but there's certain things if they said, "Why don't we?" they knew I would say no. So they didn't ask me. Because if they asked me whether I said yes or no, now I'm in the dilemma of, do I tell my parents that the guys in the street are going to do such and such?
Connections.
And so you don't say anything, but there's this conflict, and so you can ask the priest, because it's one way.
Yes,
I mean, your parents aren't going to find out, and you can mention certain things. And also they ask you sort of leading questions, and you can get stuff off your chest.
And you know that as you say, it's one way. You don't get any feedback. He doesn't criticize or comment. It's
criticize. No,
you don't. The listener doesn't respond with any advice or anything.
Pretty certainly do to kids.
Oh, right.
Well, my son, you realize you should not lie to your parents. Isn't that something you should have told them ahead of time? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's probably points where we should just lose it. What are you talking about? But well, you're in church, you're dressed to be in church, and you're confessing to the priest, which is a pipeline to God, and all this. So you're generally on your best behavior, but you have been sitting there mining your memory for things to confess. They're there, but they're tucked away in corners somewhere.
God, what if they know? But Richard, you don't have to confess every Sunday. Can you go to confession anytime? Can you let's say you have a really bad life. Could you go every day? Can you say, or you have
some people do.
Okay.
I mean, a church will have confession a couple times a week, maybe every day. There are people who go to mass every day because that's comforting to them.
But on a psychological level, I want to ask, because I grew up Protestant. Okay, so I grew up in a. Sorry, John grew up as a as an infidel, non-believer, irreligious person. So he doesn't have these hang-ups, and it's not his lived experience. But I grew up in a very strict
Mhm.
fundamentalist evangelical
Mhm.
belief system,
Mhm.
and you were your sense of being sinful and being
Yeah.
guilty.
Well,
In fact, you were born guilty.
yes, yeah.
And
This is. I think this is criminal. This is gaslighting
it is,
children.
but
Yes.
now, John, what the nice thing about being Catholic is, so I was also the firstborn in my family. Well, I am, and it's so I was also I took discipline very seriously, and I was a serious, studious. I think my mom might not, but I was a good girl. Even at university, my nickname was Miss Goody Two Shoes, because
Mhm.
I just wouldn't do wrong things, and there were many things I regarded as wrong. And I remember growing up with a constant sense of guilt. I was 12 years old, and I had a boyfriend at that time, and we went to the movies. And I still remember we watched A View to a Kill, the James Bond movie, View to Kill.
Yes.
And in the last 5 minutes of the movie, this poor boyfriend of mine had gathered enough courage to reach out and hold my hand, and I felt so guilty. I felt that I'd committed a carnal sin because boys and girls are not supposed to touch. Now, if you can confess, if there was, now I couldn't tell my mom because it was wrong, and it would have been nice perhaps for me as a 12-year-old girl to have been able to go to a priest and say, I'm Father, bless me, Father, for I have sinned,
Yes. Yes.
then at least you can feel better for a couple of days until you sin again. Is it like that, or
Well,
My daughter, you shouldn't go and watch James Bond.
I love James Bond, all right, I always have.
You'll see a lot more than hand holding.
yes. Yes. Well,
True.
not being Roman Catholic, it's not so fundamentalist. Yes, you will sin, and if you are not shriven, yes, you will go to hell. Uh, but uh, there's there's all theory out of way I'm putting together now. There's sort of a realization that it's going to happen. It would be the sin of pride if you think you could lead a sinless life.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to happen. You try to control it.
Yes, well,
Okay, and then you tell the priest you get it off your chest and you try to do better.
that's the
You
gaslighting
guys had it,
aspect of it.
Well,
Yeah.
but I'm envious of Catholics now. It would have been easier to grow up as a Catholic. I wouldn't have felt guilty about so many things, and when I did feel guilty, I could have gone to confession.
well, maybe what you needed was a friendly aunt who would listen. Okay, and
Everybody, look, it's not that my mom didn't listen.
oh no, but listen without getting dumped on.
No. I think my mom was the friendly aunt, because my mom was in many ways less conservative. Later on, as I grew up, I told her many things, and she confessed some things to me. But when you grow up in that environment, everybody
yes.
is religious. You don't know people out of your church community. There is no aunt. There is no uncle.
Well, okay. Okay. It's the United States. It's Connecticut. We lived in a I grew up in the middle, perhaps a touch above middle class suburb. Uh, there was, I mean, if we actually took the time to ask, we could have found pretty much anything we wanted. I grew up in a little town called Cheshire, and there was a
I'm going
Baptist
to
in a
look it up now.
congregation.
I'm on Google Maps. What was it called?
Yes, Cheshire, Cheshire, same as in England, Connecticut.
Like the cat.
Okay.
Like the cat.
Yes, and the town and the cheese.
Yeah. Okay.
And in Cheshire, there was a Catholic church, a Congregational, a Baptist, um, and perhaps another. And it was not a big town. You go over to the next big town over, which was Waterbury, and all of the big five, six Protestant denominational clumps had a church there surrounding the green. In fact, the Christian Science reading room had a little walk-in in a building just off the green.
Mm.
So their church was there too. Um, it and so and I didn't go looking, but it probably would have been very difficult for me to find a Jewish temple. By the time I was in middle or high school, a temple showed up in Cheshire. Okay, and so the United States is a country of mongrels. Okay, whatever you are, there's people like that 2 streets away,
Mm.
uh, and uh, because it's like that, kids growing up, uh, I really can't think of us speaking about religion except
Mm.
in your weekly religion class. But I knew about them. Uh, the first the first thing that showed me that something was amiss. Uh, First and second grade, 6 and 7. Uh, we were living in Waterbury, and public school, and we had daily teacher-led Christian prayer every day. Now, I'm brand new to school and I know the prayers, and okay, that's the way things go. Okay.
Mm.
Um, Kindergartners don't get filled in on the Constitution. Okay. It was only years later, fifth, sixth grade, where we covered lightly the Constitution, the
Mm.
separation of church and state,
Mm.
which was a huge revelation to me because in first grade, the first time Miss Warner uh, went and started the prayer. Okay, didn't expect that, but I knew the prayer would go along. Except it was the Our Father, and I learned it without the doxology, and she did it with the doxology.
Doxology?
Um, and thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory, ever and ever. Amen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, um, and that was odd. Okay, because I knew it one way. I had heard that before, like on TV or whatever. Um, and previous to that, my technical religious upbringing uh, was a discussion I had. We were driving by the green in Waterbury, and you could see all of the churches. And there was St. Patrick's, which was the big Christian church, and all these others. Well, a church is a church. It looks like a church. And I said, Daddy, why don't we go to any of these others? He
Ah.
says, oh, well, they're not like ours. And teaching a 4 or 5 year old the difference between Roman Catholics and the Baptist Congregationalists, well, it's we're all kind of the same, but Roman Catholics are over here and they're over here, and they're sort of split up in a bunch of groups, and they all have their own little church, and it's kind of the same, but it's not identical. So we go to our church and they go to their church, and that was, certainly enough when you're 4 or 5. And so, being the son of an engineer, oh, this must be the Protestant version. And it was kind of the same, but different. And how much trouble can you be in for? And so I just did not say that part. Okay. And not very long after that, um, all I knew about Judaism was that it was yet another religion and it was different. Uh, uh, I didn't know to the extent, but it was, and a week or so into first grade, I sit down, go up to my dad, and I mention this, and he looks at me and I says, "Yeah, well, oh, it's okay, well, all right, Richard, if you can leave that part off, it makes you feel uncomfortable." I said, "Do the Jewish kids say the same prayers we do?" And I'm in first grade, and my dad looks at me, a look that I was used to, where it was, "Oh my God, this is one of Richard's questions. Where do these questions come from?"
Yes.
Uh, well, I was oldest, so I had no younger brother to talk to, and so they would. And my dad looked at me and he says, "No, same God. Pretty much everything else is different." Okay, well, you know. And I looked at him, and he said, "What you said next killed me." It was just so surprising. And I said in first grade, "Then there shouldn't be prayers in school. Why?" I know the prayer, and it makes me feel creepy because it's a different version.
Mm.
The Jewish kids must be completely creeped out.
Freaked
Yes,
out
yes,
because they
yes.
said,
Okay.
wow.
And my dad
My
says,
goodness, I wish I
"Yeah."
had that kind of insight when I was that age.
Your dad's an engineer, and you have all the building toys a 4, 5, 6 year old kid can have. Everything is made of stuff. So you
Mm.
take things apart.
Mm.
And I thought for a second, and then I said, and this is a quote because I sort of remember my dad told this story back to me years later. He says, and I said, "School should be school, and church should be church." Why? He
Mm.
says, "Well, we're in one school, but all the churches are different." And
Yeah.
I don't even, I mean, I didn't even go to the much different churches if you go outside that circle. Like, well, these days, a kid in my situation, well, what about the Muslim kids?
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Okay, okay, again, the same God, but everything else is different. And my dad sort of nodded and like, uh, you know, and so I dealt with it. Uh, You go along, you play along. I said my prayer. I dropped off my piece of that. I said the Hail Mary, and it was just not right. Uh, in the second grade, we moved to Cheshire, and no prayers in school. Oh, good.
Yes,
That was it. And then in fifth grade, the Constitution separated church and state, and like, I mean,
yes.
my God, I was right all along.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's the
you
way it
know,
should. Yes.
well, it's the way it should be if you take the input that I got, and you let a little kid mix things up, and it made sense to me. Because would not have thought that way for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh,
Most
but there
kids would not
was
have thought about it at all.
well, well, the thing is, if you get some church and you get this, and there's differences, well, if it's all fungible, and okay, there's minor differences in church, you go to church, no big deal. But if your dad says that there's these gradations of differences, uh, and then I knew of an example which, I just throw it over dad, but these kids,
Richard,
it's
sorry, you're on Freethought Hour. How do you identify today in terms of religious belief? What is your current identity? If you have
oh,
one.
I'm an atheist. I
Okay.
mean, cold, stone hard. Well, I, I went to engineering school and studied mathematics.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, of course, I have, what is it, 32 college credits in the hard sciences because my school says, well, you're going to go there. You need all this just to live day to day. And so, with the little insight in my Catholic upbringing and science in school, everything they taught us, here's the evidence, here's the reason why, here's the experiment. I wanted to see the experiments. Most of our teachers skip the experiments and just read about them if we cover them at all. Okay. Um, and religion was this devoid of facts and nothing to
Yeah.
back it up.
Yeah.
And so uh, there was just, and as soon as you start looking into it, um, separate magisteria is one thing, but
Yes.
when the explanations don't match at all, you
Yes.
can't. I mean, they agree that there's people and people do stuff. Other than that, nothing. You know.
Mm,
Yeah.
Um,
no.
Uh,
and
Richard, how old were you, or at what stage in life did you not realize that you were a non-believer, that you were cold, and how did that? What was the impact? Did you get married in church? Did you, if you had children, um, did you
no,
baptize them? How
uh,
did that pan
no,
out for you?
no. I got married much later. Uh, um, I married my partner Simon when I was my late 50s.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, I mean, actually saying to myself, yes, I am an atheist. Well, I had to hear enough about it and read enough about it and get enough information from the internet about atheism to realize that I was in that camp.
Yeah.
So I guess I was uh, late 40s, early 50s, where, okay, that's
Okay.
what I am. Nothing changed. I just had a label.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but uh, when I was confirmed, okay, and they explained the uh, transmogrification, where the host becomes the body and blood of Christ, okay, I had a huge and terrible desire to raise my hand and say, can you show us some evidence?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And one, it would have been disruptive. Two, all the kids would have laughed. It's not the thing you can say. I knew I
Yeah.
wasn't going to get an answer, and they
Mm.
would have told my parents that I would have gotten in trouble. So it's,
Yeah.
and so where in school the most outrageous piece of science that you've never heard before, okay, like really that's what happened, and then the next page, here it is, like people rolling balls down a hill or swinging a chandelier or doing this and measuring that, and you know,
Mm.
and like the real great stuff when you get in college, finding light through throwing electrons at stuff. There was always some people who put together some crazy device or strange experiment and got some information. But nothing from the church.
No.
Okay, and they were all nice people and they believed it. And so eventually I came to the realization that they didn't ask for evidence either.
Yeah. Mm.
And so it's they're accepting. And well, I was just not that way. Uh, and um, and so yeah, it was then. But in college, as college students were, when we did get to weekly bits and pieces of theology and religion, uh, well, it's an engineering school, and we all know that there just wasn't any evidence, but you could like put it over on the side. It didn't bother you.
Mm.
I was in a fraternity. One of my fraternity brothers was a Mormon.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting. Didn't the founder of Mormonism come from upstate New York?
yes, yes, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
and other places. He was uh, his business card at the time would have been traveling charlatan.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but he did,
Yeah.
he did make the discovery of those golden tablets. That was in New York State. So maybe you should go out and look for them. Maybe they're still there. The
No,
gold price is very high currently.
I don't have all of it, but those first set of golden tablets were taken back, and his up to then progress in the first Book of Mormon was destroyed, and there was yet another angel, and it came a different way, and he did it that way. Uh, Now, on the other hand, something you pick up from a non-Mormon source is that his wife had read the first manuscript, And when he produced the second one, she was not a bought-in believer. She did mention to people that the parts that he redid were not at all the same. It was completely rewritten.
So
That's
she
why
had
I
to,
had to get several new wives.
she had to
Well,
be kept quiet. Yes.
yes, and you know, and so it was so we all had questions. We all had some uncomfortable bits and pieces with it, but it's a shirt that's in your closet. It fits.
Mm.
Okay. The utility is different. I did nothing at all Roman Catholic when I was on campus. When I went home on vacations and over the summer, went to went to mass. When we would go uh, to confession, I would confess and do all of that. Well, if you do that, the thing is, if I started mentioning any of this to my parents, it would just create a lot of service,
Mm.
and which I didn't need. Nothing they can say was going to convince me, and I wasn't going to be able to convince them. So you wear camouflage, you just do what it was, um, and you go on. Uh,
So
uh,
you haven't come out to your family, I understand. Does that
oh,
give you any
well,
does that give you any
no,
difficulties? Do you have to
I
stay in?
did not. No, well, both. I'm 71. My parents have passed away. Okay, I did not tell them because it wasn't going to change or help anything. It would have just been something that bothered them. Okay,
Yes, yes,
and from the outside, okay, yes, they know I didn't go to mass on my own. Okay,
yes.
but uh, you know, I would when we had a funeral in the family. Um, I would go and receive the sacrament
Uh-huh. Mm.
because, well, we would go to these things, and so many of my relatives did not go and receive the sacrament. There's just the local people who went to church all the time would. So I started doing that just to make my family look better, like we had some connection to the religion. My aunts thought it was a wonderful, oh, this is a wonderful thing that you do. Well, gee, Aunt Jean or whomever. I mean, I simplified it. You just go and get communion. I, I didn't go to confession, you
There
know.
is the
Uh,
pressure, is conform
and
and
so
be part of the society, just to look
and so
normal.
you well to well right to be accepted by them. Uh, to varying degrees, my cousins know.
Mhm.
Okay. Only one has actually asked me if I believed in God. It was a very angry discussion we had through Facebook. And I said, no, of course not. And
Uh-huh.
you've been to college and you've taken the science courses, and where's the evidence?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
okay. Well, he had already pissed me off about things. And so I could, uh, another cousin, uh, uh, I think it was her junior year of high school, she spent in Portugal. Okay,
Mhm.
she'd learned Portuguese here, and what so went over there, found a Portuguese Catholic family, and lived there with them, in school. Um, and I'd heard about that. Okay, fine. We had foreign exchange students in my school. Okay, there's a guy from the Philippines, great friend
Mhm.
of mine. Uh,
Yep.
Very friendly, got along, and he just laughed all the time as he figured out English idioms that he hadn't learned in school, which were so handy or so different, or useful in a way. Uh, and my cousin came back from that, and at a certain date, there's a certain place, and you go, and if the weather is just right, uh, the Virgin will appear.
Ah,
And she went to Catholic school here in the States, and she went, and she's telling me this wonderful story. How do you know? Oh, well, you look in the sky and you watch the sun. And if the sun starts to move back and forth, you know that the Virgin has appeared. And I was several years old, and I was through with college. And my response was, "You did take high school biology, didn't you?" And she looks at me because it's this left hand. No, it's a straight line. I said, "Yes." And I said, "Did you learn anything about the eye?" Sort of.
And looking
The eye,
straight into the sun.
son, the eye is built in to move side to side so you don't burn a hole in your retina. And
Yes.
she looked at me, no, 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 it was the Virgin. I said, no, if your eye doesn't move side to side, it's too cloudy. I mean, that would have been uh, close to 50 years ago. I don't think she's forgiven me since. Where it's I mean, the Virgin actually appeared, and like, I'm like, I mean, I'm the older cousin, and this and that, and I'm the one who went, to college to get a math degree of all things. And like, there's this wonderful religious thing, and out comes pages from a high school biology book. Like, it didn't even have to go look it up.
How dare you take away her experience?
How dare I shake the flimsy table that supports her house of cards?
I could not agree more. I could absolutely not agree
I
more.
was nice and polite about it, but don't tell me something that is physical in nature. I won't ask for a peer-reviewed study or a journal article, but I would like more than just your say-so.
Yeah.
So,
Richard, sorry, go ahead, John.
yeah, so I was going to say that we seem to have two categories of, I don't know, of brain operation, which we can flip between. There's a group of people who are sort of clickbaited to one where they're curious and they've got to have evidence to support any statement. And then the group of people that are sort of clickbaited towards, we're happy with the story. All we want is a good story.
Yes.
And then there's the people in the middle who can switch,
Well, I don't think they switch. I think they're just both. There's some things that need evidence and some things that don't, for whatever reason. But I think that it's one of these both things. It's both the way you are, and both the way your environment you brought up. I mean, my dad being a jet engine engineer, it's either right or it's wrong. And if it's wrong, you're listening to the nightly news, and there's a plane crash over Denver.
People die.
Okay. Well, no, which is that we'd be eating dinner and everything would, we had the news on, be eating dinner. So there was a plane incident over Denver, and everything would stop because my dad is listening. And from the airline, from the route, from the plane, he could tell whether it was a jet engine from his company or from the loyal opposition. Well, if your JT90 is on this, it's not on that, and this one has a Rolls-Royce engine, and this has a General Electric engine, as soon as you know the plane, you know the engine, and if you know the engine, it's either your problem or it isn't. You didn't want the planes, no one to blow up,
and yet your dad, who could at the same time be that analytical, believed that there was a virgin birth of the Son of God who died for their sins.
This is engineering. This is religion. They don't. Okay, it's too magisterial.
You're right. Yeah.
And the importance of that is because if it was a Pratt Whitney engine, there was going to be this investigation.
Yes.
And depending on where it was made, I mean, if it's a design thing, it's one thing, but it was a physical thing. it might come to the shop floor in his building. He was involved in those, you
Mm.
know.
Yep.
And so uh, uh, I didn't, the details were always way over my head, but uh, you know, there's a certain way that there's this way things are done, and you do things for reasons,
Yes, yes.
and you have reason, and you run tests and you do measurements.
Don't you just?
Um,
Yes.
and and over here, you get a story full of wondrous details,
Hmm.
and uh, and even as a little kid, well, like there's got to be evidence. Like, I mean, I don't expect that the Bethlehem News Dispatch that they have records,
Hmm.
okay, but baby's born last week. That would be nice, Jesus of Mary and Joseph, from Nazareth. I don't expect that, but more than nothing. Uh, uh, and the various miracles,
Yeah.
okay, uh, and and the resurrection,
Yes.
okay. Uh, and wherever you go, it's either uh, a nice story, or which you can believe or not, or like, I mean, here's a verse, and there should be a nice number in there where you can go to the third volume, okay, which is all the footnotes,
Yes.
you know, and like, which would give you a page to there'd be an entire room full of supporting evidence for this event and that event. Um, and as a little kid, I could never figure out a way for a star to hang out over the little burg of Bethlehem. I mean, yes, I could see it over here because I'm standing here, but a guy over there is not going to see it over Bethlehem.
No.
Okay. And the Magi, which eventually I found out that they were natural historians and sort of scientists like guys at the time were interested in this. Well, if it's over Bethlehem, it only stays over Bethlehem if you're going straight towards it. If you went, if you went to London to take a right turn at it, it would be somewhere else. And then when it was a nova, it was a comet, it was all this and that. And I said, no, because you can't plots a bright shiny ball for several nights over a town and have it over the town 360 degrees. It just don't work that way, unless Jehovah just has a big comet stand and it's there and just holds it there. You know,
So it's
Life of
weird.
Brian. Life of Brian solves it all.
well,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's uh, a little kid who's slowly maturing and learning more science and
Mm.
having questions that have to be answered. And the and there is no answer. And the response is always, well, they never show it to me, and they show me all the evidence for everything else.
Yeah.
Uh, and my dad is analytic. Okay,
Yeah.
he does everything like an engineer does. So why? Okay, and I'm a computer programmer, and like all we do is like take this big problem and break it down into these tiny
Yes.
little subatomic fragments, line them all up, and the people, oh my God, it's a miracle. No, it's just
Yeah.
10,000 steps. Um, uh, and it just did not hold together.
No.
Uh,
I can.
and
I can. You're as perplexed as I am by that way of thinking. In fact, I rediscovered recently that I wrote a book about this. Have a look.
okay,
I was using my nom de plume, Elliot George.
yes,
Oh, is that a play on George Eliot, John?
Yes, exactly. Which, of course, was a nom de plume itself, because it was actually
Itself,
Mary,
it's a
Mary
yeah,
Evans. Yes.
that's
yes,
right. Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's a transparent nom de plume. But look who wrote the foreword. Can you read that?
Alex O'Connor.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you heard of
uh,
him?
doesn't ring a bell, no.
You missing out. You missing out. So Richard, you have some homework to do. You have to watch Letting Go of God, and you have to watch Alex O'Connor's Cosmic Skeptic. But he's changed his channel now. But you'll enjoy him. He's a very bright young
He's
man.
pretty good.
But
Yeah.
John, have we do we have a new policy about our time?
No, we have overrun. and
I'm sorry.
No,
No,
John
I'm
is
just
always
gonna-
very strict with me. He will cut me off mid-sentence if I go over 1 hour. But we do not do that to our guests, especially not if they are as engaging as you were, John.
Oh,
We
thank you.
Richard, we might John Richard blah, blah, blah.
That's the gray hair. We're all the same.
Exactly, and the beards as well. We might just get Richard on again, because I have a lot of questions I'd still like to explore and ask, but I don't think it's going to be tonight. John, are you going to?
It's come to, yeah. At this point of the day, I tend to need my bed
Yes.
because it's very dark here.
Yes. Well, that's where your brain does all the updates.
Yes, yes. So
I
I'm going to
still
say,
have some sewing to do, but this is goodbye for tonight.
Well,
Tersia
thank you.
is right. You have been, with your reminiscences and the stories all going back right to boyhood and before, it's been very engaging. So I'm going to say thank you, Richard, and thank you, Tersia. Isn't it nice to be back in the saddle?
It is, and it will be nice to have Richard on again, or as I say, because I still have many questions, and I will just end off, John. I have to ask, but Richard doesn't have to answer now. He can just say yes, no, or let's talk about it later. Richard, do you believe we have free will?
Yes. Or at
Okay,
least
good.
free enough. I mean, there's limits to our imagination. Okay.
Okay, but we can't
it's
discuss it now.
yes, but
I've
it's
asked it, and you've given your answer, and we
yes,
have to discuss that. That's just my. I'm doing research. You see, I'm making notes of all our guests, and I'm doing a scientific research. So that's my question. I have to ask every guest, but we do not discuss it because there's not enough time. Never, even 1 hour is not enough to do that in. So
This is my example. This is my example. Free will.
Of what? Free will. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I have my two of my 4 are sitting and inspecting the situation as well. They need their suppers. So Richard, it was lovely to talk to you and to listen. And I have so many more questions. Maybe we will do this again sometime in the future, if John permits. It was lovely. Thank you so much, John. It was so nice to be back.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And
Thank
here's
you,
the
guys.
outro.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, we want to break free. Yeah, we want to break free.
They made the case line.